Okay, so I'm going to test myself here, but there's a squat. It's the real hack squat, the actual hack squat, not the machine hack squat. It's created by George Hackenschmidt. So you would hold a weight behind his back and you would squat. Now, this is why I'm going to try to teach this as quick as possible here. Normally, I would have people start with a wall, and so you would just put your heels up, so your heels are against the wall, and then you would squat down with your back against the wall, sliding down it with the wall to support you, and then come back up, okay? George did them with the barbell, very, very heavy. I'm just playing around with the kettlebell because I use these as like a rehab or prehab type movement to just work on my knees. So I hold the weight behind my back and I squat down, and you just naturally let your heels come off whenever they have to, okay? And you just sit down and stand back up, okay? I am not like purposely trying to like start on my toe and then come down. I let my feet naturally come up as I descend. So I'm going to start to squatting down. At some point the heel has to come off, keeping the chest up. Normally I actually control my breathing through this, but now I'm trying to talk and I just come right back up into it. Okay, so like I said, the very first thing you want to do, just to get used to it, and you won't be able to get the depth either because the wall's going to get in the way. But you're going to start with your heels up against a wall, so your heels are even more elevated than they would be in weightlifting shoes. And you're just going to slide your back down that wall, and you'll probably get down to a certain point where, because your heels are on the wall, you won't have any more flexibility to get any deeper. And then eventually you can get rid of the wall and start doing these without a wall at all and just sitting into this position here. This is a really good way to kind of put a lot of tension and stress on the knee itself, and then standing back up out of it, and of course doing these weighted. And it's important to know Hackenschmidt had healthy knees his whole life. This is probably actually the reason why he had healthy knees, despite the fact that he lifted very heavy. And of all things, you have Tom Platz, who probably has the biggest legs ever, and he has healthy knees despite all the squatting that he did, because he would do the hack squats, and he also did the sissy squats, which I'm absolutely terrible at. But you know, with the sissy squat, it's basically the same concept. You're gonna squat down and let yourself come forward. I'm probably gonna hit my kettlebell, and I try to touch my heels and then come back up out of it. Okay, but again, you're letting your knee travel way far forward, so it's really putting a lot of stress on that knee, which is actually the reason why it stays healthy. Because if you keep putting stress and tension on those tendons, you're actually giving them a reason to grow. No different than how putting stress on a muscle gives it a reason to grow. So whenever you baby your tendons all the time and you're like, oh no, keep my legs back, that's a terrible thing for you. And this is something I discovered a long time ago as a weightlifter. It's not possible to catch a snatch or a clean without your knee going over your toe. And actually, for me, my knee has always gone over my toe because I played hockey. And if you know anything about skating, you are actually taught to push your knee out, and so your knee should be at least 2 inches over your toe. You'll actually have your coach take his stick and put a stick against your knee, and that stick should be a couple of inches out in front of the front of your skate. Because the only way to skate properly is actually basically you're to skate like you're squatted. That way you get a long stride whenever you go to push out. So I don't know where the idea that you shouldn't let your knees go past the toe whenever you squat, like you're supposed to somehow keep your shin vertical. I don't even know how people do that, because I've never squatted properly and kept my shin vertical and sat back. I feel like I was falling my butt. So anyways, I just thought at the end of my workout here, I would go ahead and teach people how to develop a hack squat. Like I said, your first step against the wall. Eventually, when you get comfortable with that, you can do a freestanding one, where you're just gonna come down to here and sit, and then eventually you can do it with weight. And really, like there's no limit. Like I think George did something insane, like 115 reps in a row with some absurd amount of weight. So like you can go ahead and load it. You can put 150 pounds on a barbell and hold it behind you and do that, because people use the hack squat machine with hundreds of pounds. So there you guys have it. I wouldn't test your 1 rep max with this. Let me throw that one out there. I would not attempt a 1 rep max hack squat, but certainly you can go ahead and get heavy and do sets of 20 with a relatively heavy weight.